came over to Hong Kong to get into acting, and I did it for a couple of years full time. And 1993, I did Once Upon a Time in China, Part 3, and played a Russian character named Tumanovsky. Well, I had done quite a bit of acting on television, and so most of my movie jobs were from people contacting the television station. And that was the case here, where they got my contact information from ATV, one of the TV stations in Hong Kong, and cast me. It was a very simple cast. They wanted someone who spoke Chinese, so it wasn't a very long list, and flew me up to Beijing. There were probably about 40 or 50 people, cast and crew, from Hong Kong that they flew up, and I spent about 2 months up there.
This is Wang Fei Hong, and that's his student Lang Fun.
Hey, 煲豆腐，煲豆腐，
你都幾風趣㗎喎！佢哋咁生鬼唔通係戲班？
There was a lot of money spent on this production, and a lot of time went into it. I mean, they made custom outfits, traditional Chinese costumes for hundreds of extras. They made hundreds of lion dance outfits. You can see that in the beginning of the film. So there was a lot of time and money put into this production, but the script seemed to be done kind of as they went along. It was they had an idea of the story, but the actual lines wouldn't be given to me until about half an hour before I went on. So that half an hour I would spend memorizing what I was supposed to say in Cantonese, and then when I was actually in position, ready for the shoot, then someone would come up and they would scratch out a few words here and there, and they'd say, "No, don't say that, say this." So it became a real difficult process. It was really a matter of trying to just recite recently memorized lines in a second language. For the big scenes, in most scenes, then yes, I was directed by Choi Hawk, but there's a few real brief scenes where he wasn't present. He's very well known. He's done a lot of work. He knows a lot about editing and filmmaking, so he's very good with technique. But he's very professional, and he can be very tough. And sometimes he is a bit short with his assistant directors, and then that kind of goes on down. But he's, I guess, for an end product, having that personality, then the end product ends up being better than it would if someone was not quite so professional. But he could be pretty hard to work with at times. Jet Li's very nice. He and I couldn't communicate that well because he doesn't speak Cantonese. He can understand it, so I would speak Cantonese to him and then he would reply in Mandarin. But very nice. He was that way. He treated everybody the same, whether an extra from China or a big star from Hong Kong. He treated everybody equally, and very, very nice. Well, she is very nice. Of course, I didn't have the problem I had with Jet Li, with the communication, because she speaks Cantonese. And again, just like him, she's very nice to everyone. But we didn't do much practice just between the two of us. In fact, we didn't have, other than one scene near the end, where it's just the two of us. It was the scenes were all with a group of people. So no, there wasn't really much practice before a scene. The practice would be done when the scene was ready to be shot. We would do a couple practices and then they would shoot the scene. The film was not filmed with sound. Now, I did give my lines in Cantonese.
佢梗係你男朋友啦？
So in retrospect, I think it's kind of interesting that they really wanted me to say certain lines and keep to those lines, because the movie was later dubbed in the studio, and not only was my voice not used, they used a Chinese person to dub my voice, but they didn't use the same lines. So really I could have said anything and been thinking more about the expression and the feeling of the scene rather than what to say. Originally in the script, my character was going to fight using martial arts with Jet Li. So they wanted someone who could actually do martial arts. But my martial art ability is pretty rudimentary. I know some, but not enough to where I could really look good against Jet Li. And so they decided that they wanted the character it was an important enough character, I guess they thought, that they wanted someone, they thought the language was a pro because they could direct me easier and I could act a little better. So they decided to take the fighting out. Even though it was one of the higher budgeted films, considered a major production by Hong Kong standards, they still didn't do as much preparation work as I think you would see in a film in Hollywood and some other films in Hong Kong. And so, and this one, and again, I say the script was not written ahead of time, so I didn't really get a chance to develop the character and learn my lines ahead of time. So it was more important to them than in some productions, but again, not as important as I would have liked to have seen. So I originally came to Hong Kong wanting to develop my acting, but I found that it's difficult to do because a lot of times the foreigner is just a prop. They need a foreign face, and so they put a foreigner in, they just cast anyone. Well, they were students at the Beijing Language Institute. They were studying Mandarin, but they were from Russia, Poland, all over, and so not all of them spoke English. So I would translate it into English, and then someone would translate it into Polish, and on and on. So it was quite interesting. It wasn't that easy just to give some simple instructions. Anytime you see a film being made, you can learn either what to do or what not to do. I would say that I really did appreciate Choi Hawk's professionalism, but I think that sometimes he was a bit harsh on a lot of the actors, and so it made them very nervous. I don't think that was so good. And I think that a script should be given more importance than it was in this case. Give people and give people the opportunity to actually practice off the scene and prepare, so that less time is spent when you actually you've made all the effort to set up the lighting and all of the extras and the costumes, and you're there. I think things would run more smoothly. And in the long run, you would end up saving more money and end up with a better product. I just came back from a trip to Zhangjiang in the western part of Guangdong province, and numerous people still recognize me for that character. And I was even introduced by someone who wrote up an article in the local paper about me being that character. I came in really at the end of a good time to come. The movie industry has gone through a lot of, it's been shaken up a bit. I think a lot of funding has not come into the industry, and so there's not as many movies being made in Hong Kong now as there were. To come into Hong Kong for the purpose of getting into acting. I guess, of course, speaking Chinese helps. Having some experience helps. And I think if you have a combination of speaking Chinese and knowing martial arts, that would be the best. After I did this movie, then I went through a period, I did a lot of television after that, but then I went through a period of about 7 months where I didn't get any work. So I had to get a real job. And once you've got a real job, then it's difficult to do both. And so I've been working for about 8 years full time. But now, yeah, if I had the opportunity and had the time, and now I'm getting to where I am able to take time away from work, then I'm considering pursuing some more acting. Yeah.